Okay, yeah. So let me illustrate this with the real vector space of polynomials. Yeah, polynomials of degree at most 3, and suppose they are defined on -1 to 1. Of course, polynomials are defined on a whole real line. But in order to make a inner product space out of polynomials, we have to think of them acting on a closed bounded set, because the inner product is defined through an integral. Yeah, inner product is defined through an integral. What is the inner product? Inner product of two functions which are continuous on this closed bounded interval -1 to 1. User should take the product of those two functions and integrate. Okay, this is a number. This is a number, and by properties of integral, you can check that this is a inner product. So we shall use this inner product for this inner product space of polynomials of degree at most 3. But polynomials of degree at most 3, one standard basis is 1x, x square, x cube. This is a basis of polynomials of degree 3, right? But you see, when I integrate, when I take the inner product of 1 and x square, it doesn't give me 1 and x, it gives me 0. But inner product of 1 and x square, inner product of 1 and x square, yeah, is this, which is equal to x cube over 3 -1 to 1, and that is 2 over 3. So it is not 0. So 1 and x are not, 1 and x square are not perpendicular. Yeah, 1 and x are perpendicular. Okay, 1 and x are perpendicular. So these four vectors, these four polynomials, they are not perpendicular to each other. Gram-Schmidt process will take this as the input of this inner product space of polynomials of degree at most 3 and produce a orthonormal basis. Yeah. So let us recall this process. So we start with the basis of V. Yeah, and we can start with any of these, but the simplest is 1. So take the constant polynomial 1, and this is my first vector W1. I want to now construct W2, which is perpendicular to W1. Okay, which is perpendicular. So I bring in this x. Okay, bring in this x. X is not in the linear span of 1. Yeah, x is not a scalar multiple of 1. So 1 and x are linearly independent. And so in order to get the second vector, which is perpendicular to W1, I will take projection of x in the direction of 1. Okay, take the projection of x in the direction of 1 and then subtract. Okay, this is the projection of x in the direction of the constant polynomial 1 by definition of projection, and subtract from x. And we know by general principle that this vector is going to be perpendicular to 1. Okay, so simply substitute the definition of inner product of x with 1. It is -1 to 1 times x times 1, which becomes t, and this is equal to just x. Okay, so because we knew that 1 and x are linearly independent, they are mutually perpendicular. So second vector is automatically, it has come out as x itself. There's no change. Yeah, if you apply Gram-Schmidt process on vectors which are mutually perpendicular already, it doesn't lead to anything new. It will produce the same basis. You can check from the definition of Gram-Schmidt process that if you don't apply this on mutually perpendicular vectors, because the effect is the same, it will produce the same set of vectors. That's what happened here. 1 and x were mutually perpendicular, so the Gram-Schmidt process did not change these two vectors. Okay, now let us look at W3. Okay, 1 and x, they span a 2-dimensional space in this 4-dimensional space. Yeah, 1 and x form a 2-dimensional space, and outside this there are x square and x cube. Okay, so we now take x square, and I want to produce 3 mutually perpendicular polynomials. So what is the method? Take x square, take its projection along 1, take its projection along x, and add those projections. Then I will get a vector inside this 2-dimensional space which is spanned by 1 and x, and from x square subtract this projection of x square in the subspace spanned by 1 and x. And so that is W3, x square. From x square subtract, this is the projection along 1 of x square, this is the projection of x square along x, Okay, and then substitute the formula for inner product in terms of integral, and you will get x square minus 1 over 3. Okay, so now I have 1 and x square minus 1 over 3. You can check that x square minus 1 over 3 is perpendicular to x. It is also perpendicular to 1. Okay. Now I want to, because it's a 4-dimensional space, we have to construct one more vector W4, and you see 1 x and x square minus 1/3. It doesn't contain x cube. Yeah. No linear combination of 1 x and x square minus 1/3 can give you x cube. So x cube is outside the linear span of these 3 vectors, and therefore I can start with x cube and take the projection of x cube in the direction of 1, projection of x cube in the direction of x, and the projection of x cube in the direction of x square minus 1/3. So previously constructed vectors, I have to take previously constructed mutually perpendicular vectors, and I pull a new vector and take its projection along these 3 directions, add those, and then subtract from x cube. I will get a vector W4 which is perpendicular to W1, W2, W3, and so these. So I get this vector. Yeah, if I do this, and it turns out to be x cube minus 3x over 5. Okay, so these three polynomials, x cube minus 3x over 5, x square minus 1/3, x and 1. These 4 polynomials are going to be mutually perpendicular. Their length may not be 1, but I can divide by the length. To find length of a vector, I have to just take the inner product of vector with itself, and then take the square root, that is the length. So we can always, convert this 4 vectors which are mutually perpendicular into 4 vectors which are mutually perpendicular, and after divided by the length, they will be of unit length. Okay, and we can get orthonormal basis. Okay, so we did this for polynomials of degree at most 3, but this process can be continued. You can take a vector space of polynomials of degree n defined on a closed bounded interval. Yeah, then this forms inner product space, and out of this basis of n plus 1 polynomials, 1x, x square, xn, we can construct new set of polynomials which are mutually perpendicular. Okay, these polynomials that we get, they have definite formula. They are called Legendre polynomials. Yeah, if I input is 1 x square xn and apply the Gram-Schmidt process, I will get polynomials of degree 0, 1, 2, n, and these are called Legendre polynomials. They have a formula. You can look at any textbook. You will see a formula, and these Legendre polynomials, you will meet them in a differential equation course, and they turn out to be solutions of some differential equation. Okay, so that's the Gram-Schmidt process to construct a orthogonal basis of a given vector space, starting from any set of mutually perpendicular vectors. Okay, now let us discuss the concept of orthogonal subspace. Okay, orthogonal subspace of a subspace. We have come across this already. Suppose I have a plane in 3-dimensional space. Orthogonal subspace of this plane will be all vectors which are perpendicular to this. So all vectors which are perpendicular to this will be along the line passing through origin, and take the vector, one vector which is perpendicular to this plane, and take all scalar multiples. So if W is this, then W perpendicular will be all vectors which are along this line passing through origin, and these are perpendicular to W. Okay, so these 2 subspaces, yeah, if you add them, you will get the whole space. Okay, so we want to now generalize this concept, and starting with any subspace of inner product space, finite dimensional inner product space, I want to pass to another subspace so that vectors in this subspace are perpendicular to all the vectors that you started with. Okay, we did this in Gram-Schmidt process. In Gram-Schmidt process, I had a mutually perpendicular set of vectors in a subspace, and then I pulled up, I constructed a vector Wm plus 1 which were perpendicular to every Wi which were previously constructed. Okay. So now we look at all vectors which are perpendicular to vectors in a given subspace. Okay. Yeah. So let W be a subspace of V. And look at W perp, which is all vectors in V which are perpendicular to every vector in W. Okay, every vector in W, they are perpendicular. Okay, first of all, this is a subspace. W perp is a subspace. Yeah, W perp is a subspace of the same vector space. I start with W and look at W perp. Okay, this is again a subspace of V. What is W perp? W perp is all vectors so that they are perpendicular to every vector in W. Okay, so if I take two vectors which are perpendicular to every vector in W, then their linear combination will also be perpendicular because linear combinations, the inner product is bilinear. Okay, so W perp is going to be a subspace because if I add two vectors which are perpendicular to every vector in W, their sum is also perpendicular. Similarly, scalar multiple of a vector which is perpendicular to W will also be perpendicular to W. Yeah. What is interesting is that these two subspaces they intersect only in zero vector. Yeah, they intersect only in zero vector because suppose I have a vector which is non-zero and it is in the intersection. Okay, then this W is in W, it is also in W perp, but every vector in W perp is perpendicular to W. W is here, so it will say that inner product of W with W is 0. But this says by positive definite property of inner product, it says that W has to be 0. Okay, so W and W perp they intersect in 0. Only the 0 vector is perpendicular to is every vector. Vectors in W which are perpendicular to every vector in W are only the 0 vector. Okay, yeah. So this subspace W perp is called orthogonal complement. It is called orthogonal complement of W in V, and if I have W1 and W2 two subspaces, and then I define this new concept called direct sum of W with W1 and W2. Okay, so direct sum of W1 and W2 is the vector space which is linear span of W1 and W2. Yeah, it is the sum of these two vector spaces, and so that their intersection is the 0 vector. So whenever I have two subspaces, we intersect only in the 0 vector, and these two subspaces, the linear span of vectors in these two subspaces, the whole space, then we say that the whole space is the direct sum of W1 and W2. So for example, R3 is the direct sum of x-axis and the YZ plane. Yeah, x-axis and the YZ plane. YZ plane is 2-dimensional, x-axis is 1-dimensional, and every vector in R3 is a linear combination. It's a sum of one vector in the direction of x-axis and two vectors in the direction of y and z axis. So every vector in R3 can be written as a sum of two vectors, one in the x-axis direction, one in the YZ plane, but the intersection of x-axis and YZ plane is only the 0 vector. So we say R3 is direct sum of x-axis and the YZ plane. This is now generalized to arbitrary subspaces. Whenever two subspaces are such that their intersection is 0 and the sum is the whole space, we say that V is the direct sum of W1 and W2. Yeah. Now let's show that whenever V is a direct sum of W and W, if I take W perp, W and W perp they intersect in 0 vector, but let us show that their sum is the whole space. Yeah, and every vector in V can be written as a sum of two vectors. One is in W, another is in W perp. This is just like here. Every vector in R3 is a sum of a vector along x-axis and a vector in the YZ plane. Yeah, What is important is that these two components are uniquely determined. Yeah, one vector is coming from W, another vector is coming from W perp, and these vectors x, if I can write any vector as a sum of these two vectors, one in W and another in W perp, these x and y are uniquely determined. Okay. Moreover, the dimension of V is the sum of the dimension of W and W perp. Okay. Let us see how to prove this. Yeah. So take a orthonormal basis of W. We can construct orthonormal basis of any subspace of an inner product space. So suppose I take a orthonormal basis V1 up to Vk of W. Okay, then I take the vector V. I take a vector V. I want to decompose the vector V as a sum of two vectors, one inside W and another in W perp. Okay, so what do? We take this vector V and take its projection in the direction of V1. Now this is the orthonormal basis. They are unit vectors which are perpendicular to each other. Okay, so I can take the projection of V in the direction of V1. This is the projection of V in the direction of V2, and this is the projection of V in the direction of Vk, and add them. This is a vector inside W. Yeah. So this vector V is arbitrary vector in the big space. I am taking its projection inside W. The projection of a vector inside W is simply the sum of the projections in mutually perpendicular directions. Yeah. These mutually perpendicular directions, I have now set them as a unit vectors, so that the formula becomes simple. We don't have to divide by length of VI's. Okay. So this is I am taking projection of V in the mutually perpendicular unit directions V1 up to Vk, and this is a vector in W. And now I will take y to be V minus x. Once I have determined x, then y is forced on us. Y is V minus x. Okay. So let us y is equal to V minus x. So x is constructed out of V and y is V minus x. Now what we have to prove that this is the desired decomposition. X is coming from W. I want to show that this y is coming from W perp. Okay, so that means we need to show that V minus x is perpendicular to every vector. Okay, it is perpendicular to every vector in V for all W in W. So let us do that y belongs to W perp. Okay, yeah. So to prove that y is perpendicular to every vector in W, I need to take the inner product of V with Vi and show it is equal to 0. Yeah, show that it is equal to 0. Okay. So let's put the formula. What is the formula? The formula is V minus x Vi, that is VVI minus XVI. Okay, I know the formula for x. X was the sum of the projections of V in each of the directions Vi's. So this is the x. Okay, and I take the inner product with every Vi. But Vj and Vi are perpendicular if j is not equal to I. So when I take this inner product, only one term is going to survive from here, and that is corresponding to j equal to I. Okay, so j equal to I, and then this scalar in the inner product, which is in the first component, when I take it out, its conjugate comes out. Okay, so I get Vj V conjugate Vj Vi. Okay, j equal to 1 up to k, and when j is not equal to I, this is 0 because Vi and Vj are perpendicular. So I put j equal to I. When I put j equal to I, then I get just VVI, because Vi inner product with Vi is square of the length of Vi, which is 1. So VVI and VVI, that is equal to 0. So inner product of y with Vi for every I is 0. So y is perpendicular to every Vi, but Vi's are forming a basis of W, and therefore y is perpendicular to every vector in W. So y is in W perp. So we have written V as x plus y, where x is in W and y is in W perp. Okay. So I'll recall what is X now. So we are decomposing any vector in W as a sum of two vectors. One is lying in the subspace W and another is lying in a subspace is perpendicular to W. And this vector X which is lying in W, how did we obtain that? We simply take the vector V and take its projection in each of the VI directions and add these projections. I get a vector in W and that is my vector X. So this X will be called projection of V inside the subspace W. Okay, yeah, and let's show that the decomposition is unique. So suppose I have another decomposition, X prime, Y prime, with the same property. Yeah, X prime, Y prime, the same property that X and X prime are in W and Y prime are in W prime. Then I subtract and I get X minus X prime equal to Y prime minus Y. But Y prime and Y are in W perp, X and X prime are in W, but these two vectors are equal. So these two vectors are in W as well as W perp. So it is in the intersection, but we have seen that the intersection of W and W perp is 0. So therefore X minus X prime is 0, Y minus Y prime is 0, and so X is equal to X prime and Y equal to Y prime. So therefore this decomposition is uniquely determined. Yeah.